And now for our feature presentation.
You'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow.
Got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app, also at jbandgoldwatershow.com. If you're watching our program, to the right of your screen is Darren Goldwater. To the left, that's me, JB, and we're here jam-packed until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater individually, at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. 843-321-8893 is our text line. You can also find us in any chat room available, however you're watching or listening to our show. Send us a message, and we'll plug it into the screen to make it a part of our conversation around here. Speaking of conversations around here, we're going to have a few of those today. 4 of them, as a matter of fact, and they're all quite relevant to the sports world. In just a couple of minutes, we'll be joined by pitching coach Skylar Meade of Gamecock Baseball. They're scheduled to throw the first pitch tomorrow at 4 o'clock at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, but Darren and I have been closely monitoring the weather, Rob Fowler and Dave Williams-ish, and it doesn't look good at this point in time, but we'll ask him about that coming up here in just a couple of minutes, and much more. Carolina, of course, off to a very hot start. Cory McCartney at 12:30 today, going to get an update from Braves spring training. Also going to dabble in some football with him. There's a new NIL bill in Congress, and I like it.
Yep.
And I'm going to talk to Cory. Darren's going to talk to Cory. We're going to talk to Cory about that. Cory is not a congressman, nor is he working for the NCAA, but he does have good opinions on things like this, and so he's going to be a part of that. Collyn Taylor at 105 on the loss last night in hoops and this weekend's rivalry matchup on the Diamond. And then Scott Glaze around 1:30 today with Stono Ferry. He's going to talk to us about the Tiger Woods crash and much more. Maybe get a peek from a golfing expert like himself on what those injuries could mean for the future of Tiger Woods. Spring practice began yesterday up at Clemson for their football program. Going to try to squeeze some of that in. Going to try to squeeze in a little bracketology if we can here and there. We got Gamecock women tipping off at 1 o'clock this afternoon while we're on the air, so we'll make sure we update that in the final hour of our program and much, much more. Darren, let me get out a couple of scores. I think everybody knows them for the most part. Carolina was
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
That's the score.
69-48. Of course, they lose in Starkville last night, and it's 5-12, 3-10 in the SEC. It's 6 straight losses for the Gamecocks hoops program. Trey Hannibal, Seventh Woods not there. Seventh Woods apparently had a head injury. Trey Hannibal, quote, needed a day off. Wait a second. Come on. Ian, come on, right? Right? I mean, come on.
The optics are not good,
No,
but nothing about the optics of this season right now are.
No.
So it's just, check another box off.
I'm just trying to use a little logic here. It just, we'll get to it. Of course, Clemson yesterday thought Carolina offense was bad. Wake Forest didn't get out of the 30s. 39 points they put on the board at home. And Clemson stays rolling. That defense showed up. Brad Brownell's happy today, 60-39. They might continue to climb in the postseason bracketology projections. We'll have more on that in a little while. The Citadel, 10-point lead yesterday on Furman, couldn't hold it.
18-point dogs,
Yeah.
and they were up, and then just as Jeff Hartzell put it, the needle hit empty.
Yeah, it did. It did. They put everything they had into it, and couldn't get much more out of it. But anyways, the Citadel falls to Furman. We also have some news that has just been released from South Carolina. The University of South Carolina received a notice of allegations from the NCAA on a level 1 violation concerning a former assistant men's basketball coach. I think we all know about that. The violations were from the FBI investigation for back in 2017. Throughout an extensive 3-year review and an investigation by both the Department of Justice and the NCAA, the University of South Carolina Athletics showed that the violation in question was limited to a former assistant coach's lone concealed actions, and that the athletics had the systems and personnel in place to demonstrate an ethical and compliant department. The university, as we all know, did self-impose some sanctions. The NCAA accepted those, and the NCAA did not add any to that. So it looks like South Carolina is off the hook based on that basketball issue from a few years ago. Frank Martin, Ray Tanner, Bob Caslin all releasing statements on that. We will talk to Collyn Taylor about that at 1 o'clock today, but that is breaking news from the NCAA pertaining to South Carolina basketball. But pertaining to South Carolina baseball, we bring in the expert of the arms, the handsome Skylar Meade in Columbia, South Carolina. He is the pitching coach, and Carolina's off to a roaring 4-0 start, hoping to continue that this weekend against Clemson. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. How y'all doing?
Well, I had to call you handsome because I was picking on you last week with Mark. I asked him, I said, does anybody on the team actually work out more than Skylar? Yeah, I think he said no.
He did say no, and then he added in a couple extra shots.
Yeah, then he threw some low blows in there. But we all love you. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, listen, you tease those you love. That's what they say.
That's right. Yeah. Well, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Yeah, my cousin, he's beat me up since I was about 3 days old. So I guess he loves me. All right, man. Well, the first look, before we get into the start in the series, I do want to ask you about the weather. It's not good tomorrow in the upstate. Have y'all had conversations about this to this point?
There's some conversations being had, but those are certainly, I am not sliding in on those calls. I leave that to some of the power brokers and Coach Kingston and Coach Lee, and I know they'll figure it all out. It certainly is a ugly forecast, but we also know how weather can be. It can be very fickle, so hopefully that changes up. But the nice part is at least the rest of the weekend looks like it's going to be, pretty nice in terms of Greenville and here on Sunday.
Yeah. The rest of it certainly looks good. Well, I really hope that y'all are going to be able to get it in. I think we all want to see this series, and you're off to a 4-0 start. Skylar, let's get a quick update if we can, if you have one available, and if you're willing to share it with us on Julian Bosnick. I know he had a blister last weekend. Is he good to go?
Yeah, he's fine. He is fine. It actually is just kind of almost a dry skin spot that just kind of was getting cut by his nail, but he's all good to go.
Tell him to cut his nails.
Well, hey, listen, we can only help these guys so much with the finer details of life.
That's right. Good point. Yeah. Hey, look, man, go get one of those little nail clippers and groom yourself before you come back out here and hold on to that thing. All right. We'll bring the arms into this equation, but the offense is roaring, and of course it's been led by Wes Clark. And if anybody in their right mind expects this to keep going, you don't understand the sport of baseball. Nobody's going to hit 750 with 6 home runs every 4 games. But as it pertains to the rest of the lineup, you got some good hitters in there certainly. But what has he meant to all of those guys and making them better early on in the season based on his production?
Well, he's certainly been on a streak you're not going to see very often in terms of baseball. And some of the guys he's hit it off have been some pitchers that have had some successful careers, whether it was the Dayton weekend or, even Winthrop the other night. And yeah, we would love for him to continue. It'd be nice if he hit 85 home runs this year. I'd like our chances, but nice. We all know that's probably pretty unlikely, but no, he's really dialed in. The whole offense has been, really good. What's been nice is just seeing the amount of 2-strike hits. Like the approach has been really good. Yes, we're hitting the long ball, and I think that is part of our identity because, we got big, strong, older dudes on the offensive side. And, we all know Founders Park can juice it pretty good if you get it up in the right spots. And so I do think that'll be part of our deal. But what I've just been impressed with is our guys got a real presence at the plate.
Yeah.
Not just Wes. There's been plenty of other guys. And, Brady's been a good tone setter. And so it's been a fun group to watch perform. I hope that we can keep it up for a long, long time this year.
Well, look, a small example of that, as we stay kind of on the topic of Wes here, is he's walked 7 times and he hasn't struck out once, Skylar, and your team has walked 22 and only struck out 23. Those aren't normal numbers in today's game of baseball, as you know, and so the approach has been magnificent. And as it pertains to Wes specifically, look, if a guy goes on a tear like this, we were talking about this yesterday, Darren and I were. If a guy goes on a tear like this, 6 home runs in 4 or 5 games, something like that, you generally look and he, 6 of 18 or excuse me, 8 of 18, 8 of 19, 8 of 20, something like that. 6 of them have left the yard, got a couple other hits in there, and probably have 4 or 5 strikeouts. But he's 10 of 13 with 6 home runs and 2 doubles and 0 strikeouts. So obviously, 2 things to me. It looks like a beach ball, number one, and his swing is damn near perfect. I mean, it looks simple and smooth, and he just doesn't have to do a whole lot up there.
Well, there's no doubt. He's a kind of a phrase we've used a lot. He's impacting that ball really clean right now. I mean, and I don't know if I've seen guys in one game at least hit as many balls with as much distance as he did the other night, which was quite the sight to behold. But yeah, let's hope he saves some up for the rest of the year. I hope that there's more to come.
That's right. Yeah, I sure do too. How about Collyn? I know he didn't start against Winthrop the other night. Forget his offensive numbers. You as a pitching coach, if your catcher hits about 240, that's probably great for you. But how does he handle the staff? And he looked brilliant over the weekend. I'm not just talking about throwing out runners. I mean, you got a bunch of dudes pumping mid-90s, and if you got a guy squatting down behind the plate who's grabbing an inch or 2 on the corners, it makes 95 not difficult to hit. It makes it impossible to hit. Talk about his performance and how he's handled this staff early on.
Well, Burgess has a lot of talent. He's a really good receiver of the baseball. Myself and the coaching staff, certainly Coach Lake, he works with the catchers very closely and does a great job every year. We've been on him about, making sure his blocking is pristine because, we think he could be one of the top 10 catchers in college baseball. He's going to have a unique staff of talented, explosive arms, and he was really good this past weekend. I haven't seen him throw the ball that well, but it all starts in practice. It sounds cliche, but we did a base stealing game last Wednesday, and he threw 4 in a row to finish the drill out that were 1-9 to 1-9-4 right on the bag. That would have all been, out if he finished off the play, and he came out and did the same thing in the games. And so I think that's what you look for as a coach. You want to see these things translate. And what he did between his throwing and his blocking last weekend is going to be the standard for him as the rest of the year goes. And I'd be remiss. I thought Wes Clark, other than one fastball that just kind of turbo sunk on him and he missed, he caught really well on Tuesday night. So hopefully our catchers can continue to handle these guys. They're seeing really good stuff. So you have to be dialed in every pitch, but thus far we have.
It's striking out a lot of guys. The arms are for you as well. I think 54, 55 of those through whatever. That's been 36 innings played this far in 4 games. You mentioned he's about a 1-9 pop time to second, Skylar. What are you? Gosh, it's been a while since I've been out there. When your guys are on the mound, when they're in the stretch, what is their time to the plate? What are you trying to keep them under?
That's a good question. So what we always say is this. The combination of pitcher and catcher needs to be under 3-3. Most base stealing guys are around 3-3 on stolen bases to second. And so we try to tell our pitchers that they have to be under 1-3, but preferably under 1-2-5. The one thing you want to be careful is guys maybe trying to be, hyper quick and be like 1-0, but they lose the ability to be on time and to have dynamic stuff. So you got to find that honey hole and that sweet spot. The reality is, I know you hear some like these crazy pop times, maybe with young kids and whatnot. If you're a 2-0 to second base and in the tag zone, that's perfectly fine. Now, I get it. Our guys, you get amped up in a game and you rip off a little more velocity on a throw like Bird you did the other day and you're 1-9, even better. But if you're just clean, efficient, 2-0 and on the bag, and our pitcher does his job varying times and being within that range that we promote, then you're going to have a chance to throw out most runners. Don't get me wrong. There's a guy or two like Dayton's guy, Tarota, who was playing third base, who we did a great job of holding off. He got the one home run on the hung breaking ball, but he did nothing else the whole weekend. That guy might outrun the baseball. He's an elite athlete, but there's not going to be 500 elite athletes in college baseball that are going to do that. There's just a select handful.
Skylar Meade, pitching coach of the Gamecocks, 12:15 on this Thursday afternoon. All right, assess your starters from last weekend and what you were kind of trying to do with them. I know you had them on a pitch count. I think they all started well. I know Brandon ran into some trouble. I think it was in the fifth, and of course Julian had those 8 strikeouts in a row before the blister happened, and I think everybody was pretty happy with what you saw out of Thomas Farr. But assess those guys' overall performance and keeping them under that pitch count. What does that do now moving forward? Where will they be this weekend and after?
Well, their pitch count will certainly raise up. All of them. We had wanted them to be somewhere between 85 and 90 if things went clear. Thomas was at 89. Jordan was in the 70s, and Bosnick was the 70, and obviously they came out for a little bit of different reasons or whatever. But what it does is it means that they're going to be on the proper progression to continue to add pitches. Now, we've never had a guy throw over 112 pitches in my time here at South Carolina, and I don't think that this year is going to be a year to start where we start throwing guys 125 some odd pitches. I think those days are kind of done. I know Dayton's guy on Sunday went 113 pitches, and that's their prerogative, their thing. We try to be as intelligent as we can be because we got a lot of eyes on us, and we want guys to pitch for a long time. Heck, we want them to be pitching into late June. That's the goal, right? So I thought they all showed why they're in the roles they're in. Brandon just uncharacteristically hung a breaking ball, and Julian looked like maybe the best pitcher in the country for about 10 batters. So I think those guys hopefully can continue to do that. And with that, they'll just hopefully add innings on the back end. So, you hope now Farr gives you 7. You hope Brandon gives you 6. Bosnick gives you 6. If you do that, you put your bullpen in a good spot. You don't have to overutilize those guys, and you can pick and choose your matchups as you go. How
about that bullpen? For the most part, they looked pretty good this weekend. I think, I know Brett Carey got in there, and he's got a couple of innings. How about Danny Lloyd, the Somerville kid, the local kid from around here? Assess what you saw out of the bullpen.
I've been really happy for the most part. We've thrown 13 arms, and there's still more guys to come that will get in there, whether it's a guy coming off some sort of, physical issue or just because there's been I always say it's a mathematical equation. There's only so many innings, so many outs in terms of getting guys, but there's more guys on the horizon. They're going to get in there that have been, really making great adjustments in our practice and our bullpen situations that we put them in. So I think they've been good. The only issue we ran into was a couple guys had you have those back-to-back walks, which can kind of kill you.
Yeah.
We had a couple dudes do that. And most of them were young guys, just kind of getting their feet wet. And part of it is you just got to accept. When I say accept, you don't accept it over the long haul, but you have to understand sometimes they just got to get out there and they got to feel those nerves. They got to pitch in front of the people here, have that background of Founders Park or whatever park you're playing in. And then they can take a deep breath and go, oh, wait, this isn't really any different than things I've done my whole life. Might be a little bit better hitters, but I just need to throw the ball through the mitt, execute my pitch. And so I've been really happy. The stuff out of the bullpen's been really good. Guys, velocity, angles on their breaking balls, command of their changeups have been really good. So I'm excited what we're seeing so far out of all those guys we brought in.
All right, and you do have some young arms in that bullpen, power arms, no doubt, but they're young. But no offense to Dayton and Winthrop, I respect both of those programs. Certainly, the Eagles have been really good for a long time here in the Palmetto State, but neither one of them wears the orange and purple of Clemson. And that rivalry, hopefully, weather permitting, starts tomorrow up there at Doug Kingsmore. So it's going to be a different look for everybody. And most of your guys have already seen the Tigers. I know what you're going to get out of this rivalry here, but some of them have not. What have you seen, though, about Clemson? I mean, they didn't play a midweek this week. They opened up last weekend with a sweep. I think they had a walk-off in there against Cincinnati. What have you seen in studying up on the Tigers as you head into this series that will give your guys hopefully a chance to take it?
Well, I think they bring everybody back. That's one thing I've heard Monty talk about a lot. They got 31, 35 guys back. They got all their position players back. I do think they all look a little bit more physical. I think they have a great program like us because they attack the weight room. Like their guys are all a little bit stronger. Dylan Brewer's put on a little bit of mass. James Parker looks healthy and looks a little stronger. So, these guys are good. They're a little bit more disciplined. And so they're going to be a formidable task. But what we got to try to remind our guys is your strengths will win out in the long haul. And so just be great at what you're great at. Yeah, there's going to be a time or two where you have to pitch to a certain style to get a hitter out who's maybe dialed in. But at the same time, don't try to make any more of the weekend because of the opponent and the colors of that other uniform. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so if that message is received and executed well, then we'll be fine and you can live with the result. But you don't want guys to try to get out of character and try to be nastier or better because you're playing Clemson, and we all know what the rivalry means in this state.
You played at Louisville, as high level baseball as you could possibly play, basically. You had the Louisville, Kentucky rivalry up there. All the great rivalries in this sport, Skylar. Talk about this one now that you've been in it for this is the fourth year in a row that you've been on staff at South Carolina in this series. I think overall last few years, I think y'all are 4-5. And so this year you certainly have a chance to get above 500 on that record there. But talk about this rivalry as you compare it to the rest of them around college baseball.
Well, I think number one, what's unique in this is just the format, which we all know in the state, but just the fact that you go to, this year you go to Clemson and then you go to a neutral site game that, generally speaking, outside of COVID times is, 8 to 10,000 people, and it's fairly evenly distributed. And then you go to another park on Sunday, like that in itself is very unique. It's like a very finely tuned traveling circus, And so that part was the coolest part to me. I always tell people this. The year before I got to South Carolina, when I was at Michigan State, we always hosted a tournament in Greenville for a week. And so we couldn't play on a Saturday there in 2017 because of the Clemson, South Carolina game. And so we were staying downtown, and I did not go into the stadium, but I kind of just walked the streets as the game was, going on. And it was just like the juice in the city was awesome. And, I remember it was a tough game in which, Clemson had come back, Beer had hit a late jack. And I just remember the buzz around that city going on with this rivalry was like nothing I'd seen. And look, I'm a Louisville, like you said, I played at Louisville, but I also grew up in Louisville with the Louisville, Kentucky basketball, which is, I know people at Duke and North Carolina don't want to hear this, but give me a break. It is in Louisville, Kentucky. Someone can say I'm a homer on that, but trust me, go to one of those basketball games, your opinion will change real quick. But I've gotten to be a part of great rivalries. I've gotten to experience it from a fan perspective. Michigan State in football and basketball is a tremendous thing that I got to see for 3.5 years. So, but this thing is in the baseball world, it doesn't get any better, and I think we have two programs that are going to continue to get better and better. Clemson's got a lot of young, great players. I think we got the same thing. I think we got great head coaches that, have different styles in which they do things, but are going to be in it for the long haul. And so I'm just very fortunate, to be honest with you. I know it sounds cliche. I love being a part of it. I hope that I can be a part of it for a long, long time. And hopefully we can do really well this year and change that 4 and 5 column to a plus side for us.
Yeah, and Skylar, and these are two programs, although there is, that H word in there anytime it pertains to this rivalry in any sport, the baseball programs have long respected each other. I can speak directly to that. When I was kind of coming up, everybody on the field, for the most part, knew each other. And Skylar, you know how it is. You recruit these kids. They play on the same travel teams. They play in the same tournaments. They know who each other are. And then they get out there and they face each other, 3 times a year in this series. And you turn all that stuff off, but and turn it on for the name on the front of your jersey when you play this game or these games. But it is unique, and the fact that it's an intrastate game. And a lot of these kids kind of grew up with each other and stuff like that. When you, as the week progresses, when you're around the guys and then you get to game day tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, I know you've done it for the last 3 years. What do you see out there? What do you see amongst the teams as they kind of mingle before and after ball games, during games? What has that been like?
I think it's funny. You see, obviously the connections and the history between a lot of guys. You see it before the game, but there is a switch that you can tangibly see change once the game begins, and that intensity kicks up. I think you see it in the emotional outbursts that will happen during the course of a game. I'll tell you what I've always respected, just being a part of the rivalry and even watching historically, is most of the emotional outbursts are team to team. You know, it's fierce competition, but it's not Bush League in nature. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like, I've seen moments I can vividly remember where we have a big moment or big strikeout and our guys are juiced with one another. Clemson's done the same thing. I remember their walk-off in 18, which still stings, but everything they did was about them. And I think you can respect that as a coach or a competitor. And so that's something about the rivalry. I think there is that, like you said, it's genuine respect. Because I don't think this rivalry would be what it is if it didn't have that nature. I think that's why there's teams that play each other in other realms of sports. You want it to be a great rivalry, but it's not. That's why I think this one is the best that there is, and there's really no comparison.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, but we're all set to let you go here in the next couple of minutes. Just kind of want to summarize and make sure we're all on the same page here. Rotation not planning to change this weekend. First and foremost, everything's in line for those guys Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
And then with all the COVID stuff, how's that been going? I know you test your guys a couple of times a week. Has everybody kind of gotten into the flow of that with the season? I know it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but everybody feeling okay with that?
Everybody's doing good. The only adjustment that'll happen down the road, we test every Monday, Wednesday. Right now we're doing saliva tests that will change to nasal tests once we hit SEC play.
Oh, fun.
So everyone will have to saddle up for their nostrils to not be very comfortable and get their brain pushed on a little bit. But everybody kind of knows the routine. We know it's just part of the deal. There's no reason to complain about it or fret about it. It is part of the times right now. You just got to roll with it and get it done and hopefully make intelligent decisions off the field that prevent you from getting it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It certainly seems like things have come together nicely here early in the year. Team that's got a 2.0 ERA, a 360 batting average, and a 4-0 record. Not too bad to start off the season. But Skylar, it could be a lot better with a series win this weekend over the Tigers. We'll let you run on that note, brother. Hopefully the weather holds off and you get it in tomorrow at Doug Kingsmore. We know we'll see baseball this weekend, and hopefully it's really good baseball for the boys in Garnet and Black. Go get them, man. Really appreciate you joining us.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me on. I look forward to jumping on again soon.
Always,
Good stuff.
man. Thank you. There you go, Skylar Meade, pitching coach of the Gamecocks. By the way, tomorrow we will speak with Monty Lee, head coach of the Tigers, and we'll also speak with Drew Meyer. He will check in as well. Both of them. Monty's got a great perspective on this rivalry because he coached at South Carolina, and since he's been at Clemson, he's done pretty well against the Gamecocks, but he respects this program immensely in Columbia. Certainly he runs the show up there, so he sees it well. And Drew Meyer's got a great perspective as well because he played against the Tigers for 3 years and he knocked them out of Omaha in 2002.
Pretty cool that we're getting the head guy at Clemson on the day of Clemson-Carolina series starts.
Yeah, well,
hopefully starts.
If you follow me on Twitter, you'll figure out quickly this morning. I woke up rather frustrated.
Ready to go. You want the series to go now.
I want this series to play, and I want those that don't know crap about college baseball in this state to learn something.
Done.
Open your eyes and figure out that college baseball means something here in South Carolina, not the freaking Miami Dolphins. But anyways, forgive me with that. All right, we need to hit a timeout. It is Thursday. Buy one, get one half off foot-long cheesesteaks at DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston. I said it yesterday. Say it again today. Have you looked out the window? It is beautiful.
Dude, you're in shorts.
I know. And I was scared to wear them because you keep this house at about 6 degrees. But I'm doing okay thus far. I did put on the long sleeves.
There you go.
No question about that. Eat outside today. Order a cheesesteak if you're in the low country from DB's Cheesesteaks, dbscheesesteaks.com for that entire menu. Don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. All right. When we return, a quick update on the rest of baseball in this state. We got Cory McCartney as well. The Braves are in spring training. So is everybody else. And then we're going to talk to him about this NIL bill. We got Collyn Taylor at 1 o'clock today. We do have the breaking news we let off the show with about South Carolina basketball. The NCAA has handed down their ruling And it is good for Carolina, so we're going to get into those details and much more at the top of the coming hour as well. But Cory McCartney first. He's on deck right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, protected by Mcfadden Pest Control.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at Mcfadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about Mcfadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
You know who you're talking to?
I'm talking to the juice box guy.
You're crazy.
Now, JB and Goldwater, live in the Low Country.
All right, I got a quick gripe. I just had one, but I got another one.
You're feisty today.
It's not pertaining to what I was talking about, though. All right, this was different. I saw this morning Brooke Schwieters with Channel 4.
Oh, yeah.
She tweeted out this this video that what is the it's a kids show. What's the kids show called?
Okay.
Did you see
Gonna
it?
need more than
no,
that.
I know. Hold on.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
No. I would know that one.
Okay.
Riley and Hannah have to have that on to eat breakfast every day. God forbid. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse isn't blaring through the house. What is it? What's it called?
Living
Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. I think of that more of like a stupid card game.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Okay.
So Post Malone, the guy with the tattoos all over his face.
Yes.
Really handsome gentleman.
Yes.
He did a cover of Hootie and the Blowfish's Only Want to Be With You for, I don't know, some Pokemon movie or something. I'm not sure. And you know what? It wasn't bad. But dude, man, only Hootie can sing Only Want to Be With You. Like, not Tat Malone. You know what I mean? Like, I just, whatever. I mean, okay. Like,
it's an iconic song, right? That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it is fair. But like, when I heard it, I just kept comparing it to Darius, and there's no comparison.
Oh, so you actually listened to it?
I listened to about, I don't know, 30 or 45 seconds.
Okay.
And I thought, well, you can't, I mean, dude, Darius is so unique. His voice is just different. You can't just do his stuff.
No.
So, whatever.
I bet McCartney can sing.
He probably can. Is he on?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Hey, Cory.
What's up, guys?
I'm just, I don't know. Everything's up. I've been complaining too much now. I just need to shut up
salty today.
I'm not salty. This state loves college baseball, and there's some people in this state that just don't cover it. I don't know what they think every day, but we do around here. So I know you just love baseball. You love any baseball.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, as we get to the point where guys are getting to the majors quicker, I think it's in everybody's interest to learn who these players are in a hurry. I mean, you got to know who Kumar Rocker is. I mean, you just need to. I mean, I think if you're a baseball fan, you need to know who Jack Leiter is. I mean, think about Torkelson, right? I mean, if you didn't watch college baseball, you have no idea who this guy is. So I think it's important if you're a baseball fan, you got to know the guys that are the next wave.
Hey, might want to know who that Wes Clark guy is in Columbia. He's 10 of 13 with 6 home runs to start the season. He's now he's got like 6 National Player of the Week awards now. Have you seen that, Corey?
No, I haven't watched him yet, but yeah, that's I mean, there's so much talent out there. It's crazy.
The SEC and look, the ACC is just the SEC and the ACC every year are neck and neck. There's no question. I give the nod to the SEC, at this point in time right now, but that could change next week. It's ridiculous. I mean, you mentioned Corey, I saw somebody right before the season started, and it was somebody who was a covering quote South Carolina, and somebody asked him about the rotation, and he said, "Look, this rotation should rival any rotation in the SEC. Nobody loves Carolina baseball more than me, but let me go ahead and tell everybody something. There ain't nothing that rivals the rotation at Vanderbilt. You better prove it, and it's going to take the whole year to do that because Rocker and Leiter, I mean, there's an argument to be made that is Leiter draft eligible this year?
Yes. Yeah, he is.
They could be the top 2 picks in the draft, Corey. They should be, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Corbin has just done a fantastic job just building a machine in Vanderbilt. And this may be, I mean, he's had lots of great pitchers. I mean, think about, go back, Mike Minor, David Price, I mean, on and on and on. Obviously, Kyle Wright, with the Braves now. He's not had guys that, I mean, he's never had any pitcher go number 1 overall. Obviously, had Dansby Swanson go number 1 overall, but he's not had a pitcher. And that certainly could change this year. And it should change probably this year.
Yeah, I think it will change. By the way, quick note on Mike Minor. My old buddy Mike Cisco beat him in Columbia back in 2008, but who cares?
We all care.
Settling old scores 13 years later, if you know what I'm saying. All right, give us the latest from spring training with the Atlanta Braves.
Interesting conversation yesterday with Christian Pache. Obviously this is a guy who comes to spring training looking for a center field job. And they have a 3-time Gold Glover who doesn't want to give that job up in Ender Inciarte. So really an interesting dynamic here. Pache, this is his 4th spring training. And he told us yesterday that Ender Inciarte has been a mentor for him ever since his first camp with the Braves. So kind of some weirdness there. I think, you think about the heir apparent is ready now to take the job. And Inciarte, hasn't been a real viable everyday player for 3 years now. So this is going to be a really interesting play at camp here to see if Pache can do enough offensively to show the Braves that he's ready now, or does he need to start the season off in AAA and get that bat just a little more fine-tuned?
Well, Inciarte, we could also make that case for him. He probably needs to fine-tune the stick and tat as well. Where is he at in his contract with Atlanta, Ender?
So Ender is due $8 million this year. He has a player option, a team option, for $9 million next year, with almost assuredly doesn't happen at this point. Honestly, I'm really surprised he's still on the roster. I would assume, I've not heard this to be the truth, but I would imagine that they tried to move him in some way this offseason. It's just not a big market out there for a guy who has hit below league average in each of the last 4 years. Even his 200 hit season, the defense has suffered these past few years. Obviously, he was off the postseason roster each of the last 2 years, and 19 due to injury, and then last year due to performance. So the pressure is on him. I wrote about this in Talking Chop today. There is nobody in Braves camp who is under more pressure right now than Ender Inciarte to show that he can be an everyday player again and show that he can hold off Pache, who's there obviously to take his job.
Both of those guys are incredibly physically fit, I might add. I did see a picture of Ozzie Albies the other day. Someone had tweeted one of those out, and he was, wow, he looked good. I also saw a photo that somebody tweeted out of the Panda himself, and he looks rather thinned down. Is that true? Has he lost a bunch of weight?
Dark colors are slimming, right?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I know. I can't. I mean, I think obviously this guy is nearing the end of his career, and he's in a really tough bench battle. I mean, when you think about the guys that they already have, I mean, let's say that they go, they're only 5 available bench spots for this team. I mean, you've got a backup catcher if they're going to have Ender Inciarte or Pache additionally on this bench. And then obviously Jake Lamb, who just got there, Johan Camargo, who's on the 40-man. That leaves one roster spot available. And you've got, we talked about last week, Jason Kipnis in camp. Obviously, Sandoval is going for this. I mean, there's a number of guys that they've added to the mix here non-roster guys to try to vie for that last bench spot. So Sandoval's in a really tough battle. I just don't know that he has enough positional versatility. I mean, certainly he has a resume. As Brian Snicker likes to say, you can look in the back of this guy's baseball card, but he's got a real uphill battle, I think, to try to make this major league roster.
So, Cory, you mentioned all of those guys that they've added to the spring training roster. They will officially begin games this weekend, I think, the 28th. That's Sunday.
Yep, that's Sunday.
That's the first spring training game. Are we going to see more of them early on in camp?
Oh, yeah. I think you got to get stuff sorted out, right? I mean, you got to figure out which one of these guys do you really feel like is legitimate. And then if not, you've got to offer them an opportunity to get somewhere else and try to make their way. I mean, along with them, I mean, you've got, Ari Idrizana, who's a guy that they just added, Abraham Almonte, Guillermo Heredia, who they just got yesterday, who's a former Mets player, Philip Irvin, they got him in camp as well. So there's tons of guys vying for, basically one, maybe two spots if Camargo isn't hitting early on this season. But with Jake Lamb coming over, there's just not a lot of spots, especially, as I mentioned, they may have to carry two center fielders or, you can't. I don't think you can have Pache, and I mean, what are you going to do with Ender Inciarte? This is potentially he is 8th on the list of highest paid center fielders this year, and he could end up being a bench piece. $8 million a year. I mean, I just don't know. You can't not have that guy in your major league roster if you're not going to start him. I think he's got to have a spot somewhere unless you can move him.
Is there a chance that Phillips and Pache could maybe be the two then if Inciarte doesn't win the job? I remember, or not Phillips, but Philip Irvin. I remember him in the Southern Conference. He played at Samford and was a stud. I mean, an absolute stud. I mean, along the lines of Kyle Lewis, and what he's now doing in Seattle. Lewis was at Mercer, and now he's bounced around a little bit. Irvin has, but can they kind of platoon out there?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they really do like Jason Kipnis's bat, and they like the leadership ability. Last year with the Cubs, actually, was the first time he hit above league average in 4 years. The walk rate was at a career high. Again, we've talked about this. How much do you read into what was really a small sample size season? Because if you do, I mean, Irvin was really bad last year in 37 games. So, I think it's going to be a really interesting battle, and it's kind of where the Braves are at right now. That Brian Snicker was asked this past weekend about this being the first time where he just doesn't have a ton of questions on his roster, and he said, "Yeah, this is the first time managing this team where I'm not trying to figure a bunch of stuff out. It's mostly all there on paper for him. He's just got a couple little things that he's got to get figured out before opening day."
12:43 on Thursday. Cory McCartney in Atlanta, and you write for TalkingChop.com. I love this website. I love this website. It's so informative, which I think these days, the world's full of hot takes. This one's full of information, which I just love what y'all do. But one of the articles in there, I can't remember exactly who wrote it, but it was about some of the. There might have been 6 or 7 arms. Prospects in the Braves organization to maybe keep an eye on that could come up and play this year for Atlanta. Do you maybe have a list of your own guys that we want to keep an eye on as spring training games are set to begin later on this weekend? Some of the younger arms we might see early in camp to kind of watch over the next month or two?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Kyle Muller is really the big one. I mean, this is the guy that, was a highly rated draft pick for them. This is a guy who, was coming up, looked like he had the potential to be a two-way player. I mean, this is one of those big arms that was right there along with Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright and that kind of that same wave. So this is somebody I think that you look at and think that he could be, someone to potentially get up to the majors in 2020. Thomas Burrows is actually a left-handed reliever that I've been really high on for years. He had a run there in Gwinnett where he was just striking out guys like crazy. The walks had been a little bit of an issue for him. But that's the kind of an arm, I think that you could see making it to the major league level, because as we know, there's so much volatility in a bullpen. And I think this year in particular, when you're trying to shield starting pitchers who didn't have a ton of innings last year, you're going to be looking for a lot of arms to get you through 2021. So, I think there's tons of, De La Cruz. I mean, you could just go on and on with the arms that the Braves have, potentially thinking that these are guys that they could find a way to kind of get in there and get some work in 21.
What else around baseball has caught your eye? Again, we're set to start spring training games here in just a couple of days. What else around the rest of the league have you been keeping your eyes on?
I mean, what's going on with maybe some bad blood with the Mets and the Dodgers after Bauer? I mean, this is obviously they're only going to play each other 6 times this year, so it may not be that crazy of a rivalry brewing. We'll see how the postseason plays out. Vlad Guerrero, dropping 46 pounds, saying that he feels more nimble, stronger. I mean, I think those are all, huge stories right now. And then obviously, the amount of free agents that are still out there. I mean, you've got, Jake Odorizzi, obviously Shane Green, former Braves reliever last year. There's a lot of guys out there that are still looking for jobs. So I think that's a big storyline.
The weight loss for Vlad Jr. really caught my eye because, I don't know if people have forgotten, which hopefully they haven't, but when you look at the Blue Jays roster, you look at that squad, and you got him, and you got Biggio, and you got Bichette. I just love all that because we grew up. I grew up with those guys' kids. Didn't George Springer sign with Toronto as well?
He did, yeah. I mean, they're going to be a player in that division. Certainly the Yankees are still the team to beat, but I think this Toronto team very much right there. Especially they've got a deep bullpen. They've got some starting pitching. I mean, I think that's going to be a team to watch without question.
Yeah, I do too.
If we're sticking in the East, what should Red Sox fans expect this year? What's the plan for the organization right now?
I have no idea. I think I really like Marwin Gonzalez, and I think that's kind of where you're at right now, right? If you're the Red Sox, I mean, you get guys like that are kind of, they've had their moments, but they're kind of, maybe on the opposite side of the positives of their career. I just don't think that they're a team that's really going to be able to make a ton of noise this year. And it's got to be hard to watch. If you're a Red Sox fan, you saw Betts win, vie for an MVP last year, win a championship. You've got Benintendi gone now. You're still watching JD Martinez. I mean, what are you going to get from Verdugo in center field? I mean, it's and I don't even know if that guy's really a center fielder, but he's going to be manning center field for him. So it's going to be a tough go for them, and certainly it's got to hurt that much more when you see how in the Yankees are to win now. So it's and obviously a Toronto team, as we talked about, that's on the up right now.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it's an interesting question because I mean Boston, they're only still what now they're 3 years removed from a World Series. I mean,
yeah.
You got JD up there. Devers is still there if he can swing it the way he's capable. I mean, we know what Bogarts is going to give you, but outside of that, I mean, it's like we're like the grounds crew in Major League. Who the F are these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that anybody. I haven't heard of any of them except for Gonzalez. I mean, who is Bobby Dahlbeck?
Yeah, but that's what's weird about it. It's the Red Sox. I mean, you see this with other teams. You can go through the roster of, say, I don't know, the Rays in a given year, or pick one, the A's in a given year or something like that, and not know some of these names, but it's the Red Sox.
Boston.
It's
what's crazy. I'll tell you something, just real quick. Think about this. So Dave Dombrowski, he was with the Tigers and loaded up with the Tigers. They made, they made 2 World Series. They didn't obviously win. He leaves there. They have to go into rebuild mode. He goes to Boston and, gets some stuff done there, leaves, and now they're going into rebuild mode. And now he's in Philly. And what's he doing in Philly? He's following that same script, and they are loading up. And obviously they've been doing that, but he takes it to a different level. It just kind of feels like there's a common denominator here, and we'll end up seeing, 4 or 5 years from now, what's going on in Philly. Are they going to be in the same situation? This guy has an ability to build up a team, but he also has an ability to leave things needing to be fixed after he's gone.
Oh, that'd be interesting for the likes of one Bryce Harper and Real Muto, who are locked in there for a little while. If they got to rebuild around those guys.
Yeah. Huh.
He wins. I mean, Dombrowski wins, but he also leaves things to be reconciled with. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly. All right. Over the next few days, I will speak to you again at the end of next week. I want to touch on some football stuff with you here, if you'd be so kind to do so. But over the next few days between now and say next Thursday, anything that we can kind of keep our eyes peeled for with TalkingChop.com as you and others continue to prepare everybody for Major League Baseball's 2021 season?
Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously be all over, everything happening at Braves camp and, the daily reports and certainly what comes out of these first few games. Because this is really an interesting time period coming up here, because typically at spring training, all the reporters, everyone's walking around. You go to all the individual fields. You find some guys that maybe you pinpoint on. And then when you talk to the manager later that day, you might ask him some questions about some guys, head into the clubhouse. Follow it up. Obviously, we know that's not the world right now. And, we're kind of being limited each day. Brian Snicker's actually talking right now. We're going to get Austin Riley in a little bit. That's what news is limited to right now. So these games are going to be really the first opportunity as we see guys like Carl Edwards Jr. who are fighting for a bullpen spot. What do these guys look like? This is going to be the first chance to see that. So, certainly have it all covered at Talking Chop, and make sure you get there and find out, because this is going to be a spring unlike any other, because last spring we weren't dealing with all the COVID effect without question.
CJ Edwards, who hails from the state of South Carolina.
All right,
as I mentioned before, got to keep those Palmetto State guys at the forefront of the conversation. All right, how much, Corey? To slide to football here. Well, actually, not just football. To slide to college athletics. Mm-hmm. How much have you been able to comb through the latest name, image, and likeness legislation that was presented on Wednesday from Senator Jerry Moran?
A little bit of it. I think one of the more interesting things here is that, these players are going to be able to potentially come back after entering a draft, which I think is
I like that.
One of the biggest things. I like the lifetime, undergraduate scholarship aspect of it. I like the ability of them to give back the money if they potentially need to do something along those lines to make sure, if there is any issues. I think there's just, to me, it makes a little bit more sense to have those guys have that flexibility, because I think we all know people that we've either been close to or, or watched a career of that got bad advice and entered the draft and didn't go as high as they wanted to, or didn't get picked at all. And then it's then what happens with their lives. So I think that could be a big step in the right direction.
I agree. I like that. I've always kind of thought that that's where this should go. I mean, I understand why the guardrails have been in place. Certainly. It makes sense. They also have some timelines in there as to when those decisions need to be made, so you're not just leaving your organization or your program hanging. I like the medical coverage side of this, and I do think this was well thought out, Corey, and how they tiered it based on institutions. I mean, there's let's say Ball State. I mean, they're not bringing in Texas money. So can Ball State guarantee lifetime medical coverage and things like that? No, they can't do that. They'll go bankrupt trying to do so. But they tiered this based on the amount of annual revenue that schools bring in. I thought that was great. And, the name, image, likeness thing, it looks like they'll even allow kids. You could actually enter into a deal, if I read this correctly, before you're a college athlete. You just have to notify the school of the deal that you have in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, though, I will say one of the things I'm a little more worried about, and it's a little bit more towards basketball, is if guys are doing that before they get to school, how much does sneaker relationships and sneaker money tie into where a kid goes to school? I think that's gonna be an aspect of it, because we obviously know Nike rules so much of college athletics and college basketball. But does the kid end up going to Notre Dame because he's wearing Under Armour stuff? I mean, I think. I think you're going to have to limit. I don't know that you can. It's almost going to be like a conflict of interest, right? Are there going to be certain companies or certain organizations that can't be contacting these kids because they're tied to so many different college programs? Which obviously those are the entities that you think would be one of getting involved in this. But I think there's going to be some things that we're going to have to watch when we start talking about the real amateurs before they even get to college.
Well, it's a great point. There are some protocols in there, like schools, conferences, and associations like the NCAA would be allowed to prohibit athletes from signing endorsement deals that go against the student code of conduct, an organization's student code of conduct. And I think there's some other language in there in discussing things like that. But Corey, what you're actually discussing, what you're saying is, an athlete could actually be bought. I mean, let me kind of paint this picture here. Darren Goldwater is an upcoming college basketball player. He's a recruit, and and Nike has said, you're going to be the next big thing, and we're going to strap these suckers on you. And then Darren says, well, I want to go play at South Carolina. And Nike says, oh, no, sir. That's right. An Under Armour school. You ain't going there. You can choose between Duke and North Carolina and whoever. That causes a problem. That causes a problem for the athlete. It causes a problem for the school.
Absolutely,
but it's really in the athlete. You've been bought by whoever's paying you.
Yeah, I mean, think about Zion Williamson, right? This is like the last, I think, guy in high school that everyone was like, had their eyes on. Mikey Williams now. Think about so Puma right now is like trying to really make their headway in basketball. What if Puma were to go to Mikey Williams and have an agreement with him, and then he's only able to go to a school that is tied to them because it's obviously they don't want him then going to a Duke and wearing Nike, and obviously Nike's not going to want him wearing Puma on the court. I just think there's just some stuff that could really potentially be ugly because football and basketball is just so much more different. Obviously the sneaker culture is just such a big part of that. I think that could get really dicey when we start looking at into the long-term implications of this.
Well, I guess the good news, this is just a bill that's been proposed, if that's even the right word. So you can take the good parts of this and then kind of slice away the bad parts and say, if you're a high school kid and you get an endorsement, here are the things you can do, here are the things you can't. Or as a high school kid, you flat out can't do it.
Yeah, I think obviously, you don't want some college kid, tying himself to Pornhub, and then all of a sudden, that's the school says, well, that's not in our school motto. So let's, but I think that's the kind of stuff you want to guard yourself from. But maybe they need to think a little bit more broad too.
Nice.
I like how you ended the Pornhub thought with broad.
Yeah.
Well, good wordplay there.
Well, he's been doing this a while. Yeah, and because it does appear the NCAA, they haven't necessarily washed their hands of this, but they're leaning on Congress, which to me is a shame. But they're leaning on Congress to try to get this figured out. It looks like this will be presented. Then the NCAA can come in and say, well, okay, based on our research, here's why this wouldn't work, why this would work, and things of that nature. But we've seen some other bills, Corey. I know we're short on time here, less than a couple minutes. We've seen some other bills prior to this one that I think have just been ridiculous. Who was it? The Senator Booker from wherever
New Jersey. New Jersey.
Let them do whatever the hell they want to, basically is what he said. Whatever you want to do it. You can earn whatever money. You're in charge of your life and all this. There was some stuff in there. I was like, dude, you don't have any idea what you're stepping into by allowing this. So that's just my opinion. But as you compare this one to those, how do you compare this to those based on the limited knowledge that we have of all of them?
Oh, I think the difference in this one is that you're maintaining some long-term rights for the athletes. You're obviously the medical stuff, you're the scholarships, the ability to come back, after entering the draft. I think this one seems to protect a little bit more the overall well-being of the athlete, as opposed to just, do we want them to have, the complete ability to own their likeness? I think that's all well and good, but I think protecting the athlete is an overall aspect of this that we are now seeing added in that I think is really a key component.
I agree. And I mentioned to Darren yesterday, we, if we're all hyped up on name, image, and likeness, right? Hey, we need to, we treat them like employees. We need to pay them like employees. Well, you know what? Employees get fired when they don't perform. So we can put that in there too. You're not performing, I'm going to take your scholarship. You think they'll want that? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, we always want you around here, and we're happy that you get to join us every week. It's fun. Looking forward to next week. Looking forward to spring training kicking off, throwing first pitches around on Sunday. What?
So, one of our great regular listeners, viewers, tweeters believes Pornhub would be an excellent sponsor for college athletes. Lily.
Oh, sweet Lily. Yeah, we need to get her in here to guest host one day. She burned this thing down. Yeah. I don't agree with her though. I agree with Corey. I don't think that'd be good. Corey, have a great weekend, man. College baseball is roaring, and the spring training games get going on Sunday. This is awesome. Can't wait to talk to you about it next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There you go. Cory McCartney in hot Atlanta. Well, cold Atlanta now, whatever it is. Who knows? It's something.
I'm not sure what the weather is there.
Spring Atlanta.
It's hard enough keeping up with what there is here.
That's true. All right. Before we run, remember Clemson, Carolina this weekend. They're both undefeated. Last night, the College of Charleston was thumped by Georgia Southern 18-7. How about this? It all looked good till the third inning rolled around. 9 runs allowed by the Cougars and 6 in the fourth, and they were all but out of it at that point in time. But
Auburn said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah. Hey, Auburn's got a tough one this weekend in the Round Rock Classic in baseball.
Yeah.
That's a good little gig. Auburn, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Baylor.
Yeah, they put up 33 runs last night.
Oh, I saw that. But I thought you were talking about the other side of it. I was like, wait a second, they didn't allow. It was 33 to nothing.
No.
It was 33 to nothing.
Nope.
Well, whatever. CFC's 2-2. They got USC Upstate in 3-game stretch this weekend. The Citadel 1-2. They got North Florida Friday for 1, a double dip Saturday starting at 1 over at the Joe. Coastal's 2-2. They got the CCU baseball tourney this weekend. Bryant, West Virginia, and Kennesaw State in town. They'll play all 3 of them in consecutive days. And CSU, remember, they're on pause. A couple of other notables keep your eyes on this weekend in college baseball. Outside of that Round Rock Classic, that's the big national tournament, certainly. 13th ranked Georgia Tech at 15th ranked NC State. That series, ACC, rocking and rolling. How about 12th ranked Virginia at North Carolina in a series? North Carolina is unranked, but they can make a statement by beating the Wahoos this weekend. And watch out, 8th ranked UCLA. They host the Anteaters of UC Irvine, who are 3-0 after sweeping Washington. UCLA had a rough start last weekend. They dropped from 2 to 8 in the rankings. So that's elsewhere around the country, college baseball. But coming up next, we'll get into some college baseball and also some hoops with Collyn Taylor from Gamecock Central. Breaking news at the top of the show. Carolina has learned their fate from the NCAA as it pertains to the Lamont Evans basketball allegations from a couple of years ago. And he will give you that entire scoop when we return on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at Mcfadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about Mcfadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Download the JB and Goldwater app. You can watch and listen to our program daily. You can always go back and watch and listen to it as well if you happen to miss it around here. If you're watching right now, to the right of the screen that we're in is Darren Goldwater. To the left is me. And you can follow us on social media, across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Thanks to Skylar Meade and Cory McCartney in hour one. Scott Glaze is coming up at 1:30. We will talk about Tiger Woods, certainly, and his horrific crash this week. He's doing well, though, from what we understand, but looking forward to that conversation. But now, our long-lost friend, although we follow his humor on Twitter daily, Collyn Taylor with Gamecock Central. Big series to cover this weekend in baseball. Basketball is playing not great. The women just tipped off, and now we've got a ruling from the NCAA. So we'll probably go all different angles here with the fine gentleman from Gamecock Central. What's up, man?
How we doing? I'm all for it. Let's get into as much as we possibly can. And for a weird late February day, it's a lot of news going on for some reason.
And you know what? And none of it's football related. Isn't that great?
Yeah. We're like a football commitment away from sports media bingo right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so let's lead off. You've got an article up already at GamecockCentral.com. But let's lead off with the latest breaking news from the NCAA. Their rulings out on South Carolina men's basketball, and of course, this all boils down to Lamont Evans and his tenure with the Gamecocks, what he did, and what he's paying for in the future. So go ahead and give us the latest news and kind of summarize what we learned today on the South Carolina side and what that also means for Lamont Evans, even though he's not a Gamecock anymore.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Lamont Evans, he is getting hammered by the NCAA, and rightfully so. 10-year show cause penalty, I mean, has already been handled in court, but now the NCAA is stepping in. And the biggest news from today was the 10-year show cause for him. But in terms of South Carolina, they got off without the two biggest outside of the death penalty. They got out of it without having any postseason ban or scholarship reductions, which is a huge, huge win for South Carolina, in my opinion. And then just some stuff that they've had to do with recruiting. Official visits get taken down a little bit. They have some limitations in what they can do, either with unofficial visits or over the phone recruiting. But all that stuff can be worked around, and you can handle that stuff a lot better than you can handle a postseason ban or scholarship reductions.
Any of the penalties that are any, or have any of the penalties levied by the NCAA been levied by the NCAA, or were these all originally self-imposed by South Carolina and just accepted by them?
I think a lot of it was self-imposed and accepted by the NCAA, and that's a good sign when South Carolina goes out there and says, hey, listen, what happened was wrong. We've already put this stuff into place, and the NCAA says, okay, that's good enough. It could have been a lot worse for South Carolina when you just look at the Oklahoma State decision that was handed down a couple months ago. So a lot of it was self-imposed, and it's a good sign the NCAA agreed to it and allowed South Carolina to keep those self-imposed bans or self-imposed penalties. Okay.
And for folks that maybe don't know the penalties, they are on probation for a couple of years. I think they already paid their $5,000 fine, if I remember correctly.
Part of the Muschamp buyout.
Oh yeah, they just lumped it in there. There was a reduction of men's official visits to 25 during this athletic calendar year and next. Prohibition of unofficial visits. Collyn, I'm reading your writing here. Prohibition of unofficial visits in men's basketball for a total of 4 weeks during the fall of 2021 and or 2022. All these self-imposed. Some telephone restrictions during a period. You can read more about it here with Collyn. But they've reduced the number of in-person days, recruiting days, and things like that. But as you mentioned, no postseason ban, no reduction of scholarships themselves. I do want to ask you, though, for some that don't know what this means, what does a show cause order mean for a coach when that is issued by the NCAA?
Yeah, it means that he can't work with an NCAA school, and if I think one tries to hire him, they'll suffer some bans along with him. There's a lot of hoops they have to jump to if they want to hire, but it essentially means that for the next decade, Lamont Evans is not going to be involved in NCAA coaching, whether at an assistant level or something like that. You saw it a little bit, I believe, with Steve Forbes, who had to go coach at a JUCO and then work his way back up through East Tennessee State, now at Wake Forest. Believe that's how it works, but believe that's what it worked like with Steve Forbes. But yeah, it just means Lamont Evans, you won't be seeing a lot of Lamont Evans over the course of the next decade in college basketball.
Could this be a precedent for some of the other rulings that still haven't come down as it pertains to the same case, or is really what happened in South Carolina significantly less than in some of those other places, and this is a one-time thing?
I think for some of the schools that were named that didn't have major violations, I think this is kind of the precedent for it, but there's still some schools out there with bigger violations hanging over their head, and you just don't know right now. The NCAA's interesting when it comes to rulings in some cases, but in terms of the schools that were named that don't have major violations like South Carolina, I think this is probably the precedent, probably the line of thinking the NCAA is going to go with.
Here are my thoughts on this. You know, we've seen, you just mentioned the NCAA and how they rule, and nobody ever really knows how they're going to rule. But I do feel like at times in the past, Collyn, there have been levies. The NCAA, has levied penalties on different institutions, maybe when they weren't deserving of them. It was more the coaches should have been hammered for the rules or the laws or whatever it was they were breaking. I'm not just talking about this specific ordeal or these specific events as part of the FBI investigation. I'm just talking about in general, football, basketball, whatever sport you want to reference in this conversation. But it has appeared over the last few months as they've started to release some of their findings from this investigation that I know that some schools are being dealt maybe a little bit different hand than South Carolina, but they have really just tried to hammer more the individual than anything this time around. Does it appear that way to you? And if so, why do you think that?
Yeah, I think in a way it does. And I think it's in large part because we're in this era of player empowerment in the NCAA and in college sports where the players now have more power than they've ever had. And you want to help protect that a little bit. And I think that when you punish, let's say, take Oklahoma State, for example, they have a postseason ban, they're appealing it. Cade Cunningham wasn't recruited by Lamont Evans. Cade Cunningham had no dealings with Lamont Evans when he was at Oklahoma State, and Cade Cunningham is having to suffer potentially if the appeal falls through and Oklahoma State can't play in the postseason. Cade Cunningham's going to have to suffer for the actions of Lamont Evans when he had absolutely nothing to do with the things that Lamont Evans did. So I think that's the NCAA's line of thinking and this ruling is why punish these players that had nothing to do with what happened 2, 3, 5 years ago. Why not punish the actual individual and then make the schools have to have some sort of punishment as well, just from employing him? And I think that's what you've seen the NCAA take in its rulings, and you see that through recruiting limitations. You see that through postseason bans at other schools, and you see that through fines to where it's not directly hurting the players.
Well, I think those are great points, because how many times have we all said, all three of us and everybody we know, basically, in years past, wait a second, these kids, whatever school, whatever investigation you want to bring into the conversation, how many times have we all said, these kids don't deserve, they had nothing to do with
anything,
this.
yeah.
And they just hammer it. Well, postseason bans and this, that, and the other. And they're like, dude, we had literally nothing to do with this, and we're being punished. Coaches are being punished. And, like Frank, I mean, he didn't have anything to do with this. Clearly, their investigation shows that. Every investigation has shown that. So that's a step in the right direction for the NCAA. They got a long ways to go with some other things, but that's certainly good. All right, a real quick update from Columbia, 17-10 right now with a little under 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter. 5th-ranked South Carolina on top of the Ole Miss Rebels. South Carolina expected to be fine in this game. They should win it, and then they should head to College Station this weekend for a showdown to win the Southeastern Conference's regular season crown. The men don't have that luxury, Collyn. Yeah, all right. So the game aside for a second, we learned after the game last night that, and we knew when the game when they tipped off that Trey Hannibal and Seventh Woods weren't there, but we learned afterwards that Seventh Woods, I guess, maybe dealing with some type of head injury or something, and Trey Hannibal, well, he just needed a day off.
Yeah.
I know that you're a journalist, and so you can't write things that aren't true. I'd hope you don't.
Yeah.
But can't we kind of all speculate a little bit as to maybe what happened here?
Yeah, I mean, you can, and obviously Trey's dealing with the same things we're all dealing with in terms of this pandemic. And yeah, I just think that probably there's some frustration on Hannibal's part. There's probably some things going on there where he just needed to take a break for a few days, a game. And that's what happened from everything Frank Martin said publicly. That's what happened last night at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Frank isn't. If teammates have an issue in practice, generally coaches aren't going to run out and publicly talk about that. But that we can speculate on that a little bit. And who knows? It might be dead wrong. I don't know. I don't have any idea. But it's just the way it looks. They didn't look good last night. They haven't looked good, Collyn. And you never. I never thought I'd ever see a Frank Martin team literally as the season went on, not necessarily get worse. I mean, we've seen them struggle down the stretch at times in his tenure at Carolina. But I just look out there and see a bunch of guys certainly not playing for each other, definitely not playing for the team. I just don't know where the care level is on the care meter. I don't know that it's anywhere close. If you're talking about 1 to 10, I don't know that it's above a 3 or 4.
Yeah, and that's been the problem, is that you have stretches where guys just seem to go in their own world and do their own thing, and that's kind of been the biggest issue is the selfish nature of, and I'm not calling a specific player selfish. That's not what I'm saying, but kind of the selfish plays that get made, guys not diving for loose balls, guys not, rebounding and being this physical team. And that it's just not, Keyshawn Bryant said it, it's just not Frank Martin basketball. And they haven't been playing Frank Martin basketball for a while. And there's no identity, there's no personality, because they have a lot of ISO situations, guys trying to do a little bit too much. They haven't been able to develop an identity. And typically speaking, identity gets you through these tough moments. And when you don't have that, things begin to the wheels begin to fall off, and you see the struggles that are going on right now because of it. And there's just a disconnect somewhere, whether that's player to player, player to coach, or something along those lines. It's just, there's some disconnect somewhere.
On Twitter at Colin Taylor. He is, of course, with Gamecock Central 117 on a Thursday afternoon. And you're exactly right. And I know, and based on Frank's comments, it appears that Keyshawn Bryant has tried to be a leader on this team. And, the question with that is he actually a leader? Which when I watch him play, if everybody played like Keyshawn Bryant, they'd win games.
He's leading on the floor with his effort. Yes.
Right. And then the other question is, do they want to follow?
Right.
And we don't have those answers. The real question, though, Collyn, forget what fans are saying on the Gamecock Central message board and everywhere else. Forget the 1-9 crap. I don't want to hear about that right now. The real question is, are the problems fixable under Frank Martin? Is that a fair question to ask at this point in time in year 9 of his tenure?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair question. And I think some problems are fixable in terms of the talent, in terms of the cohesion. And I think, too, COVID is not an excuse for everything that we've seen over the last 9 games, 6 games of losing streak, but it does impact things. And I think that that's where some of the cohesion's lacking, is the fact that they've had some COVID issues and when they would have done that. But I think in a normal year, you'll be able to evaluate the problems being fixed more. And I think it's a fair question to ask. Absolutely. And I think that there's some things that are fixable and some things that are just, you chalk up to a weird year, and some things that maybe aren't fixable. But it's just, it's so hard to tell in a year like this when everything is so abnormal.
It is really frustrating. You speak with Frank weekly, a couple of times a week. And final question on hoops here, and then let's get into the rivalry this weekend. But we saw Frank go through that lull. There was a time where we were watching him going, I just don't know that he doesn't look good.
Doesn't look right.
But when you talk to him now, what do you feel when you speak with Frank Martin? What does he say? What does he do? What are his actions like? And how do you think that translates?
Yeah, I think that, he's feeling a lot better. COVID kicked his tail the second time through. I mean, he admitted it. He looked it on the sidelines, just lacking energy, and he's better now, but he's still frustrated. Now he's trying to fix these things and being more energetic in practice and bringing an energy and an intensity to it, but the team's just not responding right now. It's just hard to figure out how to get that consistently out of a team. And, you see it through stretches in games, but I mean, the energy and the intensity that Frank Martin brings on the sidelines is not really translating to the court. And that's a problem. And, Frank's feeling a lot better now, has no plans to retire, said that publicly, feels really, really good. And it's just going to be interesting to see how he manages the off season, how he manages these next 2 weeks of 2 more games and then the conference tournament, as to what you see from this team and if they can translate some good mojo down the stretch into an off season and into next year.
Up next is Georgia this weekend. Carolina walloped the Dogs earlier in the year, but it's hard to expect them to do that this weekend in Athens, although the last one was a 20-point difference in favor of the Gamecocks. And then, of course, in typical South Carolina sports fashion, the next one is against the hottest team in the league in Arkansas, who just dismantled Alabama last night, and nobody in SEC basketball is playing better than the Hogs at this point. We can't wait to see them next week in Collyn. Yeah, it's perfect timing. You know how this works, Collyn.
Yeah.
Everybody plays their best basketball when it's time to play Carolina.
Yeah. And you don't get Kentucky this year when Kentucky's
right. Especially when they were struggling. Yeah. Like, I don't know that I want to see them now.
No, you're going to get them in the first round of the tournament. It's what's going to happen.
That's right. That's probably how it'll unfold. Okay. I know fans have been frustrated by that, and that parlayed from football season, but it's what we've seen on the diamond. 41 runs in the first 4 games. Carolina is off to a 4-0 start. They've pitched pretty well. We all know they've swung it pretty well, and this weekend they're going to get their toughest test thus far this season with the best rivalry, or one of the top 2 rivalries in college baseball in Clemson. They're set to go tomorrow at 4, Collyn, but weather is certainly going to play a factor in this. I don't see any way that it's not. I know that we asked Skylar about it earlier, and he didn't want to get too much into it without having more information. Were you on the call with Mark today? Was he asked about weather this weekend, and what did he say?
Yeah, he was asked. He said that if they cannot play all 3 games, the goal is to play all 3, obviously. But if they can't play, then they'll probably just push the rescheduled game back to later in the season at some point. And yeah, so it doesn't appear that they're going to want to do a doubleheader, whether that's in Greenville or in Founders. Because I mean, if you're Clemson, I don't think you're going to want to give up a home game. Vice versa, if you're South Carolina. So it looks like if they can't play tomorrow night, which it's looking like it's going to be tough to get 9 in, they'll probably just push it back to another point in the season.
Damn, Drew Meyer. I was talking to Drew on the way over here today, and my thought process was, well, if anything, because you're right, Collyn, because of the setup of the series with 3 different venues, nobody's going to want to lose a home game, and that includes the neutral site at Florida this year. So I was like, well, they probably just bump this thing back and run it Sunday to Monday. Of course, the weather in Columbia on Monday doesn't look really that good either. And Drew said, what they'll probably do is play Saturday, Sunday, and then maybe play that 3rd game, later on in the season. And I was like, yeah, whatever. What does this guy know? Well, he knows more than I know. So obviously that's okay. Well,
I think each venue also has a single game contract.
Right.
So it would be different if they try and throw a doubleheader into that.
Well, yeah, but Collyn, and you, on top of that, nobody wants to play a doubleheader, especially against your rival. Are you kidding me?
Right. Taxing your pitching staff like that's just it's not something that's going to be a recipe for success, especially if you lead the series off with a doubleheader like that.
Yep. Yeah, no question. All right, so Wes Clark, certainly he is more than the flavor of the week. He's the national flavor / player of the week. And you're a big stat guy, Collyn. I like dorky guys like you when it comes to baseball. You really grind in there and find all the nuts and bolts of everything. I'm just kidding, by the way. I mean, I'm not kidding about what you do. I'm not,
Respected.
But what's been impressive about this is the 6 home runs are certainly impressive. He hadn't struck out, dude. He hasn't struck out once in 4 games, and he's walked 7 times. We were talking to Skylar about this earlier. he's seeing it well. His swing is really good, short, sweet, compact. He's not a guy who's just trying to hit home runs. He's a guy who's hitting them because naturally they're flying off the bat the way that he's worked himself up there. You've been covering Carolina baseball a long time, and I'll mention Drew Meyer again. We're going to talk to him about this tomorrow too. But I know people have been throwing around the Yaron Peters name. Yaron didn't hit his 6th home run until the 15th game of the season in 2002. Garris Gauntz actually led the team in home runs at that point in time. He hit 7. And Drew brought up, how about this name for you? Just a few years ago, Jeff Jones. And the start that he had before he fell off. Do you remember his start? How does it compare to this one? And can you think of any others that compare to the start Wes has?
No. I mean, when you talk about John Jones, it wasn't the start of the season where he did this. It was a hot stretch of, he was okay at the beginning, was hitting for power, but he really ticked it up late into non-con and then early into conference play before tailing off. And to start a season, it's hard for me to think of anybody that's started a season quite like this. I mean, Alex Destino's freshman year, he had a really good start in terms of power, but I mean, it's nothing compared to what I've seen from Wes Clark. He's hitting for power, but he's got an on-base percentage of 850. Like, it's not like he's reached he's had 13 at-bats and 10 hits, and he's walked over, 7 times with no strikeouts. It's not like he's just going up there and it's all or nothing. He's hit 2 doubles. He's hit singles. He's walked. And that's the most impressive part to me, that he's not just hitting 700 and on-base percentage of 700. He's hitting 700 with walks in there, with doubles in there. And that's the most impressive part to me, is that it's not feast or famine. It's working counts. And then if a pitch comes, you're going to hit it 420 feet.
It's what, and you're right, and it's way too early in the season to diagnose anything with this squad. They're 4-0, not 14-0 or 24-0. They're 4-0. They got Clemson coming up. They're going to lose games, guys. Wes Clark's probably going to walk up to the plate at some point in time with the bases loaded and strike out. That's baseball. It's going to happen. But you've been there for all 4 of these things, and this is a good start, and it's been a rather dominating start. They've responded well when they've had some troubles in the middle of a couple of these games, as everybody does in the sport of baseball. Does anything feel or seem different as opposed to the last couple of years under Mark Kingston with this squad based on this small sample size?
Offensively, it looks like a lot better. It's a much more improved approach than what they've had the last 2 seasons. They've always hit for power. That's something that South Carolina has done forever, and they're doing it this year. But it's a team on base percentage of 441. They're hitting 366 with 2 outs. This is a team that's been able to work counts and do damage when the other team makes a mistake. This is a group that I've been really impressed through 4 games with their offensive approach, with their ability to work counts. And like Mark Kingston said, we're not going to dub them the 27 Yankees just yet. It's 4 games. And they haven't played a single team in the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12. So you like what you've seen, and now it's about keeping that same approach when you're facing top-tier talent, a Davis Sharp, a Kumar Rocker. Can you do that against the elite arms that you'll face this year? But I've been very, very impressed with the offensive approach, especially through 4 games.
How about the staff? Bunch of power arms. What do you think of those guys?
Oh yeah, the staff in terms of just Thomas Farr is the real deal. Julian Bosnick is the real deal. Brandon Jordan looked really good at times last year, and then in his first start needs to cut down on the walks. But this bullpen has been absolutely unreal. You're trotting guys out there that it seemed like if you trotted a guy out there the last couple of years and he hit 94, that was a big. Cause for celebration. But now, every guy is 92 to 93, touching 94, 95. Daniel Lloyd, Will Sanders have each hit 95, 96. It's just a group, and Andrew Peters too, same situation. So it's just a group it can dominate, and you don't have to overtax a guy. I remember Kingston's first year. seems like every time they needed a bullpen arm, they would throw Eddie Demarius. I mean, Eddie Demarius probably had 60 innings out of the pen the last, 5 weeks of the year. But now they have guys that they don't have to extend them. It's not, going 2 innings and seeing if you can get a third out of them. It's all right, go 2 and pass the baton, or go 1 and pass the baton. And that's what I think is the most impressive part from a pitching standpoint, is just the depth they have. And then, I mean, when your frontline guys are Farr, Jordan and Bosnick, and you got Carey on the back end, that sets you up for a lot of success on the mound, especially.
And it was a great sign coming into the year too, Collyn, that they pretty much knew those guys. I know when we had Mark on, he kind of quote released their weekend rotation, but we all knew who was going to start on the weekends, and it's been a while. You know how it works, right? In college baseball, everybody generally usually has their Friday, Saturday guy, and they're competing a couple for that Sunday role. And they didn't really have that issue here in the spring. Hopefully, it continues that way. Over the years, and I know we only have a couple minutes here. Probably should have spent more time on this. It's so much fun to talk about because this series is magical. But over the years that you've covered the Carolina-Clemson baseball rivalry, there have been some amazing, amazing moments, and we might see another 1 or 2 this weekend. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you? Anything maybe that you're planning to write about on Gamecock Central that fans would just be able to close their eyes and go, "Oh God, yeah, that was awesome."
We're not going to write about it, but I loved the Reed Morgan stare down from a couple years back.
Sure.
That was fun. It's so cool because there's a lot of guys that have played against each other and with each other for long periods of time, whether that's in state or in travel ball. And just getting to go up against each other in a series like this, where you have 3 different venues over the course of a week, it's special. And the emotion, especially if you go into a Sunday tied 1-1, that there's not a whole lot like it, not only in college baseball, but in college sports. Kind of like the South Carolina-Clemson rivalry, and the emotion that comes with late innings on, Sunday or even Friday night. Just the level of excitement that there is, the buzz in the stadium. It's unlike anything I've really felt in any other situations. And I've covered super regionals and regionals and all sorts of that stuff. It really, it's on par with a 3-game series in late February.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I can't tell you how many of these things I've been to, from the Sarge to Founders Park, Doug Kingsmore. I can remember 100 moments, it seems like. And I saw a video this morning. I can't remember who tweeted it out. I saw a video this morning when LB Dantzler hit the walk-off in the regional back in 2012 to beat Clemson. And I think some people forget that Clemson was in that regional in Columbia. It was strange, certainly. I remember the year before that, Collyn, were you covering Carolina in 2011 or not yet?
I was in high school in 2011.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you weren't. Yeah, you weren't. But you probably remember that Friday night.
I can be your dad.
Oh no, we didn't go down. You don't want that. I remember in 2011, something as small as, and you talk about guys that know each other. I mean, Michael Roth from the upstate, like Wingo and those guys were. They knew everything about Clemson baseball, played against these guys, played with them in travel ball. He comes to South Carolina. Obviously, his legacy starts in the World Series in 2010. But I remember in 2011, Friday night at Founders, well, it wasn't named Founders yet, but Friday night at the new ballpark at Carolina Stadium, something as small as a rundown. And this video was, and I remember I was sitting right there, right behind the dugout on the first base line. I saw the video this morning. It reminded me that place went roaring. They had Roth picked a guy off, and he took off for second, and then Roth came to first to get involved in the rundown, and Wingo dropped it back into him, and Roth tagged him out, and he kind of gave him a shoulder nudge to try to get the ball loose and get it out of Roth's glove, and Roth shoved him. And Michael Johnson was the first base coach, former big-time star at Clemson, power hitter from Georgetown. And he came out and kind of helped separate it. And Wingo, I don't know what Scott thought he was going to do, but he came over and stood kind of in the middle of it. And that place just went berserk. And at that point in time, though, in the game, I think Clemson was up 3-0. Carolina won the game 6-3. I mean, they turned it on. They hit 3 home runs after that, 3 2-run shots. And it's those moments. And with COVID this year, you're not going to have the packed house. And those are the little moments that this series just brings out of you. You didn't even know you had that energy in you over a little rundown at first. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see something maybe we'll see a hot bat this weekend, Collyn.
Well, if Wes Clark hits 3 in a game, my guess is you'll have some people.
The Jack Leggett moment. Everyone leaves the ballpark. Yeah, certainly.
3 again. You never know.
Yeah, the official Gamecock Central account has asked us to at least get a couple food takes before we let you go.
Food and clothing. What are you wearing and eating?
Clothing, I have no idea why we're talking. I have some very bad food takes. Wes and my lovely wife love to make fun of me because I'm a very, 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 very picky eater.
Oh, so what's the worst food take?
I like them, but I don't eat bone-in wings very often.
Oh, man.
Major fail.
Yeah.
Everyone else is right.
They're good. I have a big theory that I don't work for my food, that if I have to put a lot of effort into eating, then I'm just not going to eat it.
Okay.
Right, how about this? So Derek, earlier this week, Derek said that Brian Hennessy, the SID at Clemson, said that Brian Hennessy's wife, I think, brings brownies to the press box or to the media guys up there in the press box. Have you been able to enjoy those, or are you not a brownie guy either?
Trust me. If you seen my gut, I'm a sweet guy. But they're great. The brownies are great. With something that we're not going to get to cover a game at Clemson this year, but something I'm going to miss because of COVID.
Well,
enjoy the dinosaur chicken nuggets.
Yeah, things are amazing. Chicken nuggets are chicken nuggets, and it's even better when they're dinosaur shaped.
We just discovered the alphabet shapes for my daughter. If you want to switch it up a little.
Dude, believe it or not, we have both of those in our fridge. The dinosaurs and the alphabet.
I believe it.
We never grow up here.
No, that's true. That's a good point. Well, look, man, you cover the Gamecocks as well as anybody out there. You do a tremendous job, and it's been too long since we've had you on. It was great to talk with you today, and it doesn't look good for tomorrow, certainly, but nonetheless, you're still going to be busy this weekend with at least 2 baseball games and basketball, and you got spring football right around the corner. So, eat up.
Absolutely. Gonna have plenty of dinosaur chicken nugget lunches for the foreseeable future.
Right on. Collyn, thanks, man. Have a wonderful weekend.
Absolutely appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Collyn Taylor with Gamecock Central. All right, our friends at Mcfadden Pest Control, they keep you protected from the bugs. We tell you every day it's warm. They've been wet and they're tired of it. They want to get in there and warm up and get dried off. So make sure Mcfadden Pest Control keeps your home protected from the household critters and, of course, from the mosquitoes. Coming soon to a home near you. And also, most importantly, the termites. No, we don't want those. Termite bonds at Mcfadden Pest Control, in business for over 40 years. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we return, another young buck, Scott Glaze, he's going to join us. Really tough week, obviously, with the Tiger Woods news. We're going to get his thoughts on that. Our friend from Stono Ferry on the JB and Goldwater show, protected by Mcfadden Pest Control.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes Dub.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at Mcfadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about Mcfadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what?
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
Well, you will listen to every damn word I have to say! You are the worst wedding singer in the world, buddy.
Sir, one more outburst, I will strangle you with my microphone wire. You understand me?
You are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
And if anybody is wondering why Scott Glaze is a golf pro, because he couldn't cut it as a wedding singer. When you threaten the father of the bride with a microphone wire, it doesn't work out, Scott. What's up, man?
What's up? Yeah, I definitely couldn't cut it as a wedding singer. That was a good. I didn't expect that clip coming. I love the when y'all play the kicking and screaming. Juice box guy, I love that one. But that was a good one. Didn't see that coming. That was a good laugh.
I think I don't remember the bumps that I play on a daily basis. I think I used that one earlier in the show, though.
Yeah, that's a great one. Very underrated Will Ferrell movie, Kicking and Screaming.
That's good. That's a good point. All right, Scott Glaze. He, of course, is the golf pro at Stone Oak Ferry. Real quick, though, but we were just talking food with our friend Collyn Taylor from Gamecock Central. Let me get in today's national days on the national day calendar because all 4 national days pertain to food.
Okay.
And all food that I like. All right. It is National Clam Chowder Day.
Mcfadden or New England, though?
Well, I don't know. I guess
any of them.
I guess they could all be
just
a part
clam
of it.
chowder.
Yeah. You know, it's like National Hot Dog Day. Like, does it have to be a
Hebrew national?
Oh, well, never mind. Let me find a better example. Darren. If you're not eating a Hebrew national, Darren,
you're doing it wrong.
He gets all in your grits, man. It is also National Chocolate Covered Nut Day.
Those are good.
I know a couple of chocolate covered nuts. Don't take that, guys. I also know National Toast Day. It's National Toast Day.
I toasted a bagel this morning.
There you go. And all right, okay, February's a good day for this, but I would just think it'd be more late in the fall, but it's National Chili Day.
Yeah.
I love chili. Do y'all have good chili at Stone Oak Ferry, Scott?
We do have good chili. We'll make it from time to time when it's cold out. My grandma makes a chili called Rootin' Tootin'. It's actually called Rootin' Tootin' Cowboy Soup, but it's a chili. Right. Man, that is some of the best stuff on the planet.
Okay.
Is good. I've got a couple. I hoard some in my freezer whenever she makes it for me. So yeah, that's a good day. You got to load up your chili with a lot of stuff. That's the type of chili guy I am.
One of our neighbors makes a chili, but gets offended if you call it chili because it's taco soup. Okay,
there is a difference.
Sort of, yes, but it's the same thing.
My mother-in-law makes taco soup and it doesn't taste anything like chili.
Huh? Maybe she's doing it wrong.
It tastes like tacos.
Okay.
In soup. All right, Scott, StoneOakFerryGolf.com. Book your tee times. If you're not playing golf today, like we're not, but what are you doing? Come on, man. You should. This is the day that you're sick, dude. You woke up this morning real ill, but you're out there on the banks of the Stone Oak. All right. Obviously, Scott, you're the first person I thought about the other day when we got the news of Tiger Woods. That was just really, and nobody knew what to think when we first saw it, but it does certainly appear that he is, he's okay. I mean, he's but he's not okay from an injury standpoint. What were your first thoughts when you saw this? I mean, this is a guy that we obviously have been waiting to see play in majors this year to see if he can get another one, and that certainly looks incredibly unlikely at this point in time. But what went through your mind when you heard what happened?
It was kind of, for me, it was kind of eerie because I had just come off a lesson, had my phone in my pocket, pulled it out, had several texts from friends. It had not, I mean, it was pretty recent. People savvy on Twitter or social media that had seen the news. It was before it had hit any type of ESPN or PGA Tour alert or anything like that. And it was eerie because when the news of Kobe's death started breaking, I was on the golf course and same type thing. And it's just like, wait, is this real? Is this really happening? so on and so forth. So it was, Tiger's giving me more goosebumps than anyone else in this game of golf. And I got just this weird kind of anxious goosebumps right there of like, geez, I hope he's okay. Not from a golf sense, that we want selfishly, but for his family, for his kids. And thankfully he's going to be fine. Might not be playing golf for a long time, but that's what I was reminded of, just because of the similarity of being on the golf course and not really glued to my phone, getting a notification, seeing something that you just can't believe. And so actually that day I felt pretty bad about it. Just in the back of my head, I thought, gosh, I hope he's not back on, pain meds or anything like that. We saw his interview they did Sunday at Riviera, and he looked a little off to me. Now, that's somebody who I've probably watched virtually every shot the guy's ever hit, because he's always on camera, but he just looked a little off, looked like a guy who was maybe in some pain. So that's where my mind instantly went of, oh God, I hope he's not, he hasn't fallen off the wagon, so to speak. And fortunately, the news has come out that wasn't a part of this accident at all. And so that's good news. And I felt like that was a little unfair to Tiger, some of the takes on social media and some of the comments and grumblings of people in and out of the clubhouse here of, oh, well, I think we know what caused that type of stuff. So fortunately that's not the case, and that we can get rid of that narrative, and Tiger can have a speedy recovery, so that he can start living a somewhat normal life again. This is gonna keep him down for quite a while.
We know that there could be other injuries. What we know now is just what has been put out about the right leg, the tibia, the fibia, the ankle, the foot. And he was pretty crushed up on that right side. Had it been the left leg, probably worse in terms of the prognosis for his possible comeback, correct? I mean, so take us through the golf swing and the difference between right leg, left leg as you try and come back from something like this.
Right. So there's a lot of torque on the left leg, on that knee, on the ankle. We saw Brooks Koepka recently have kind of some knee issues on that left leg, and it's just the torque and the almost snapping of that knee, for lack of a better term. If you really watch a great player's golf swing, how they kind of squat into that left knee and then explode up out of it. That's how these guys are getting their power. Now, that was the knee that Tiger had injured in 2008. Tiger has famously worn steel spikes, I think, his whole career. Now, the steel spikes, which virtually nobody wears anymore, would really glue you to the ground. So there was a lot more torque and a lot more strain on Tiger's knee. Nowadays, you see these guys like Justin Thomas, when at impact, both feet are off of the ground. So there's not as much torque there. There's not as much strain on that leg. Yes, I think it would have been worse especially if they're talking about a shattered ankle, if that was his left leg, just due to what I've seen some orthopedic surgeons talk about of the arthritis that this could lead to down the road with the pins and screws and all that type of stuff. Better that it's the right than the left. What's very interesting, if we talk about a Tiger return, I actually think the best part of Tiger's career and best part of Tiger's life is in front of him. He's at the twilight of his playing career, and he's now in a position to where he's going to be able to watch his kids grow up and turn into adults and carry on his legacy. He's going to see this next generation of golfers that he built, that these guys are in the game because of Tiger. And then the generation after that and after that, he's going to just kind of be able to sit back and see what he's meant to the game of golf and to sports. And thank goodness that this story didn't end worse than it was. And it would be great if Tiger came back and played and if he won. But if he did, it'd be a bonus for us, the fans. He owes golf nothing anymore. He's already given us so much. So he owes us no, it'd be a bonus if he came back for sure. But to tie it in with historicals and other great pillars of the game of golf, in 1949, Ben Hogan was a 3-time major champion. He was 36 years old. His career had already had an interruption due to World War II, where he served in World War II. And he was driving on a foggy Texas highway and was hit head on by a Greyhound bus. Had he not jumped over to the passenger side to shield his wife, he would have been killed, more than likely. But he broke his collarbone, his pelvis, his ankle, and rib cage. He was playing, admittedly, the best golf of his life in the late 40s, and then has a near-death accident and a long rehabilitation. Now, Hogan did come back and win the 1950 U.S. Open at Marion, which is that famous photograph that you see of Ben Hogan where he hit the 1-iron there, black and white from right behind him. That's from the 1950 U.S. Open. That was just such a historical win coming off of that accident. And he would go on to win actually 6 more majors from 1950 to 1953. And 1953 was his famous Triple Crown year, where he won the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the British Open. And that then gave him 9 major championships for his career. Now, Hogan, like I said, was 36 at the time, so he was younger than Tiger. But it has been done before by one of the game's great players to have just a devastating injury and come all the way back into the winner's circle.
Scott Glaze out at Stone Ferry, StoneFerryGolf.com. Follow Scott as well on Twitter at Scott Glaze. Well, you mentioned all that. It's also worth mentioning that Tiger Woods in his career, in addition to now this, which is going to be as significant as anything to come back from if he ever can. 4 back surgeries. He had that Achilles injury at the Masters about
5
10 years
back
ago.
surgeries now.
Well, now 5. He had that back operation, so 5. And I think, Scott, I think what we all want to do as fans of golf, and certainly as fans of Tiger Woods, we all want to close our eyes and wish back 2008. Because in 2008, you could have never dreamt the next 13 years would unfold like this. You just couldn't have. I mean, and I was listening to the PGA Tour on Sirius XM yesterday. And one of the things that they were, I think it was, I can't remember who was talking about it, but one of the things that they pointed out was after he won the Tour Championship and then turned around and won the Masters in 2019 was in golf, you don't have that walk-off moment like you do in like John Elway or like you do in baseball. You kind of fade off into the sunset in golf. And like what was as impressive, Scott, Darren, everybody, as Tiger winning that tournament, the Masters, it's 2021 and Tiger Woods is still playing golf. I mean, he kept playing golf. And now here we are on pause again, and nobody has a clue what his future could look like. If he can, Scott, if he can play golf, if somebody says, look, there's a 1% chance that you can ever play again in a tournament, what do you think, knowing about Tiger Woods and who he is, what do you think what his response would be to a comment like that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's gonna try to play again. One of the fiercest competitors we've ever seen. We've talked about it before, comparing him to Michael Jordan, how those two are about the only two that can be in the same breath of just uber competitiveness, just champions. So yeah, I think he's going to do all that he can to get back. And the only way he wouldn't is if it's going to affect his way of life. That's the biggest thing that we saw when he had the spinal fusion, is that he didn't do that for golf. He did it so he could live, hopefully, a pain-free life and be able to be around his kids and all that type stuff. So if he can come back and play golf, he's absolutely going to come and put that tee in the ground and look to beat your brains in again. And, wouldn't put it past anybody. I mean, if anybody can do it, it would be Tiger. If it's going to hurt his lifestyle, hurt his future years and his comfort of living, then I could see him maybe deciding to not play again. But I don't think let's knock on wood, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
It's been a
scary
one.
stuff.
It is, and this is, and y'all talked about the injury and how that could affect him and stuff, and I think we can all. I mean, Scott, I know you're not a doctor, but we lean on you for this because you understand the art of the swing and what type of shape you need to be in to go out there, walk 18 holes 4 times a weekend, by the way.
If he came back and won, it would be. I mean, it'd probably be a bigger story than him winning the Masters. At his age, he is young. I saw an orthopedic surgeon say that what Tiger has going for him is that yes, he might be old for the game of golf right now, but he's young orthopedically, so he should be able to heal a lot better than someone who is older from this injury. Plus, he's in great shape. But the time that he's off it's just further and further behind. He's going to fall with speed, with distance, with repetitions, consistent. So it's going to be even that much longer to catch back up. That everybody else is going to be out there getting better while Tiger's gone. And I think we could see him come back and almost play ceremoniously. Playing the Masters, playing the majors, things of that nature. But, there is a very, very strong possibility that he just can't do it like he did anymore, based on the injuries. Who knows what he did to his back, how his back's going to be.
Right.
And there's a very strong possibility. And if this is, the end of Tiger's actual competitive career as we know it, that's going to be a lot to digest. And I guess we're not going to know for quite some time, but we certainly can speculate. But it's going to be a tough hill to climb for sure.
Only about 4 minutes left. I know we have a video to get to with you here, but a final question on this. What do you think the immediate future is on tour and how the tour responds to this? I mentioned to Darren yesterday, I'd be interested to hear what type of questions are asked after rounds to some of these players this weekend, next weekend, and things like that. But what will the PGA Tour look like over the next few weeks as Tiger Woods is going to be and going to continue to be the main story in golf?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be an outpouring of support, love and support and admiration for Tiger as we've seen. We can reflect on how great Tiger's career has been. Fortunately, he's going to be okay. We didn't lose Tiger. He's here and he's going to heal and he's going to recover. And I would wonder what Tiger would want all these guys to be saying and doing. I saw something on Twitter, someone saying, "Hey, everybody on Sunday should wear red." And I don't know if I'm on board with that. I don't think that would be something that Tiger would want people to do, because he's going to fight like hell to come back and be out there again. So I don't have a great answer for that. I don't know what it's going to be like. It's certainly, like you said, they're going to be the topic of conversation.
Oh, it's been a tough conversation to have certainly throughout the week. All right, what are we going to watch here in this video? You've been getting us better for a month. Get us even better than that today.
So this is just a very simple putting tip. I call the putter the great equalizer because a little 4-foot putt counts just as much as a 350-yard drive. So we need to make sure that we don't throw strokes away on the putting green. And I think the most important part in your setup with putting is having your eyes over the ball. Have your eye on the ball. That's in most every other sport. That's a big tip. That's a big concern. Keep your eye on the ball. So same thing with golf. With our putting, everything can fall in line if we have our eyes on the ball properly when we putt. So this is a little tip on how to do that.
All right.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Scott out here on the putting green this week with what I call the great equalizer. Yeah, I think the putter is the greatest equalizer in the entire game. That's because this little 5-footer that I have behind me counts just as much as a 330-yard bomb down the middle of the fairway. So what is very important in putting, much like in our full swing, we want to focus on parallel lines. We want to have our alignment correct. Now, what I think is the most important thing in the putting stroke is that our eyes are directly over the ball. A lot of times I see amateurs set up with their eyes very much inside of the ball or over the top of the ball. So a nice drill to work on to make sure that your eyes are properly over the ball is to set up normally to a putt, take another ball and drop it from in between your eyes, right at the bridge of your nose there. Where the ball drops due to gravity will tell you where your eyes are, if they're too far over the ball or underneath the ball, as we would say. If the ball makes contact with the ball resting on the ground, you know your eyes are in good shape. Now, you can also use alignment mirrors. I have a few in my golf bag in my office. Those are very, very helpful. You can use a household mirror as well if you're at home and putt on top of the mirror, and you can see exactly where your eyes are pre-stroke and during the stroke. So try that out. If we make sure that our eyes are over the ball, we know that we're in a great setup position, and we're going to roll a lot better putts. We're going to make more putts and lower those scores. So try that out until
Whoops, I cut you off, but keep it in the short grass.
That's right.
Darren, he blew
No,
it.
I did.
He blew it. I've never seen that. That's a great drill, Scott.
Yeah. It's very. Our stroke can get thrown off if our eyes are not over the ball. Speaking of Tiger is always he is picture perfect setup for putting. So if you pull up, a YouTube video or something of Tiger, that's the way to do it right there. But it gets everything in line, and then it can put you in position for a great stroke.
Scott Glaze, StoneOakFerryGolf.com. The weather is warming, folks. The sun has returned to the skies, or the sky, whatever you want to call it. StoneOakFerryGolf.com is where you can go book your tee times, inquire about memberships, golf packages, if you want to get some lessons from staff out there like Scott Glaze, and so much more. You can see the entire course. They'll do a little flyover so you know what you're going to play before you head to Hollywood, South Carolina, and check it out, StoneOakFerryGolf.com. We're reminding everybody every day to go play golf. It's going to be a great weekend to do so as well. Get out there and play early on Saturday morning. Get home, watch Carolina-Clemson play baseball in the afternoon. Perfect weekend. You'll have plenty of beers in you before you watch the first pitch. Scott, great stuff, man. Really great stuff. Wonderful comments on the Tiger situation as well. And we look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. It's going to be a great weather-wise to come see us, and see you next week.
You got it. Scott Glaze at Scott Glaze on Twitter, and again, StoneOakFerryGolf.com. Follow them on Twitter as well. That's Stone Oak Ferry. All right, that'll do it. We are out of here. I know we're a minute or two past time. That's all right, because we do what we want.
That's pretty close.
It's okay. Thanks to everybody. I got to pull up my list. Scott Glaze, Collyn Taylor, Cory McCartney, and Skylar Meade all joining us today on our program. Tomorrow, Monty Lee, Drew Meyer, Rafael Esparza all join us. Another pretty good day around here as we get you into the weekend. Baseball on tap, certainly. Thanks, Darren, as always.
Thank you, man.
Wonderful job. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Y'all are why we do this, not us. For Darren, I'm Jamie. Have a terrific Thursday afternoon. JB and Goldwater Show returns tomorrow at noon, and we'll see you then.